Meet Johnny. Johnny lives alone in a small house in the suburbs. One day he meets a nice lady and they fall in love. One thing leads to another, and before long their house is full to the rafters with a couple of kids and their cat Chucky. Johnny thinks to himself, I think I need a bigger house. Johnny's a keen DIYer, and he even built his own shed. He's also lucky enough to have a bit of land and decides that it would be fun to build a house for his ever-growing family. He starts to imagine his dream house. He wants turrets and a moat. Of course, everyone wants his own castle. But he also decides that he'd like it to be warm, comfortable, healthy, cheap to run and super energy efficient. So he embarks on a project to build his perfect greenhouse. Johnny works hard on the construction of the house. He's done his research and he knows that it needs a lot of insulation in the walls, triple glazing, and he even put some solar panels on the roof. When he's finished, he's extremely pleased with himself and moves in with the family. One day his friend Stan comes around to check out the new pad. It looks great from the outside, but when he walks in he notices a funny smell. Mate, it's a bit stuffy in here, he says. He also spots some black stuff growing on the walls and a couple of rather suspect-looking mushrooms poking out of the super-sealed bathroom tiles. Johnny is surprised. He thought that he'd done everything he could to ensure that he'd be providing a safe and comfortable home for his family. He asks Stan what he's done wrong. Stan tells him that he'd done a splendid job sealing all the cracks and making sure that the house was really airtight. His attention to detail was great, and the house was warm and cheap to heat. Unfortunately, he'd forgotten about the ventilation. John is confused. He needs some proper ventilation to dilute pollutants which may be harmful, such as CO2 and VOCs, and provides fresh air for people to breathe. It is required to prevent condensation and mold growth. He doesn't know what to do. What's more, he's getting a bit nervous because it's a full moon tonight, and he's only managed to buy this land because it was on an old Indian burial ground. Oh! I be the werewolf, I be. What was that? It looked like Johnny was attacked by a werewolf and suddenly possessed into picking up a copy of Part F of the building regulations. How strange. Well, Part F turned out to be very useful. Who knew? It told Johnny all about different types of ventilation systems he could use to sort out his ventilation nightmares. Part F of the building regulations is concerned with ventilation, and it suggests 4 approved systems for dwellings. Option 1 uses extraction fans in wet areas such as the kitchen and bathroom. These are the places where most pollutants are generated, and these need to be removed. These fans can be manually operated or connected to the light switches. Fresh air comes into the house through the windows or trickle vents. This system is known as intermittent extract ventilation, or IEV. Option 2 is passive stacking ventilation. This is a whole house ventilation system where natural pressure differences force the warmer stale air up and out through the vents, which then create a negative pressure in the rooms. This then sucks fresh air in from outside through small trickle vents, which are usually incorporated in the window frame. This is an entirely natural ventilation system. Option 3, in mechanical extract ventilation, trickle vents are used again, but the extract system is supplemented using fans located in a central unit in the loft to aid the movement of air upwards. In this case, the fans run continuously and fresh air again comes in through trickle vents. Sometimes there is a boost switch up the rate of extraction. Useful when Morticia is cooking up frog's legs or Johnny's throwing one of his infamous parties. Johnny, you party animal. Finally, mechanical ventilation with heat recovery has a central unit which delivers filtered fresh air throughout the house whilst removing stale air. No trickle vents are needed. In this system, both incoming and outgoing air pass through a heat exchanger. Incoming fresh but cool air is preheated by transferring heat from the warm outgoing stale air. Efficient. And we can still have a boost button, so don't worry about those parties, Johnny. Well, that's a lot for poor Johnny to think about. 4 different systems. He'd better look up some further information. Luckily, the Energy Savings Trust have a good website. Lots to think about as Johnny walks off, and all thanks to a violent and informative werewolf.
On ne pense à rien malgré ses blessures.